Hi, welcome. I'm Lisa Tesch. Well, it's another beautiful sunshiny day today, and I'm always very grateful when the sun shines. It's just beautiful, and it brightens up the whole day. So I hope it's sunny, and I hope it's cheerful where you are today. Today's topic is something that I think it has impacted all of us at one time or another. It might impact us on a day-to-day basis, but I felt it was important to at least bring it up today and just ask ourselves whether or not this is something that we might have an issue with. And the issue that I want to talk about today is pride. You know, is pride good or is it bad? And usually when we hear about pride in the scriptures, we usually tend to think of it as a pretty bad thing. But, you know, time changes, and, you know, after 2,000 years of, you know, going into the scriptures and reading what it says in the scriptures, even in today's language and what people say today, will make you possibly stop and think, well, wait a minute, maybe it's being applied differently. And, you know, to certain people, you know, whether it's the youth or young parents or whatever. So I want to get into it. I don't want to spend a whole lot of your precious time because I know how valuable it is for you. But I want to get into Proverbs today. And it's Proverbs 27, chapter or verse 2. And this, I really thought a great deal when I read this. I thought, wow, this is really important. And this is a good lesson for us to teach our kids as well. It says, let another man praise thee, and not thine own mouth, a stranger, and not thine own lips. It is a wonderful thing. You know, when you get that new house and you see this beautiful house and you've been eyeing this house for a long time, and all of a sudden, well, you know, you get this house and it's a beautiful house. Everybody in the neighborhood wanted it, but you got it. And you're kind of proud. And you're kind of boastful about it. Yeah, I had to have the house. Yeah, I was willing to spend a couple $100,000 more or whatever. Maybe it wasn't quite that much, but, you know, whatever it took to get the house, they were going to get it because they were proud. They had that spirit of pride. Of course, we see that too when we get new cars. You know, especially men when they go to a car dealership. There's something that happens, and if you ever take your husband or your beloved with you to a car dealership, it could take a while for you to get out, and God only knows when you do get out how many different vehicles you might have. And of course, you know, if people go out, and there's Maggie, my kitty, making her debut again. Of course, if you have property that you've seen that others have also looked at, but it's beautiful property, it overlooks, you know, a golf course or whatever, you could have that tendency to be a little proud. And so it's not always whether it's you know, whether pride is good or whatever or bad. You know, how does it make you react, and how does it make you respond to others? You know, does it affect, you know, your reactions towards others? You know, does it change you? And I think that's where the danger comes in when it comes to pride. Does it affect you? And if it does, is it you know, good or bad? You know? And so now let us go into the book. Again, we're back into Proverbs. This time we're going to be in the 16th chapter on the 18th verse. Pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. You know, this is the one verse that, you know, I always think of this verse. You know, pride cometh before a fall. And it kind of keeps you, you have to, when you think of that one, it kind of keeps you in check. You know, don't get so wound up about yourself that you forget, you know, others in the process. You know, that's where the dangers of pride cometh. You know, for instance, when my daughter had her children, I was a very happy and very proud grandmother. Oh, and mother. I was proud of my daughter for being able to have these precious children, but I was also very, very proud of these precious little grandsons that I now have. And so, that's the good part of what I believe. I'm a proud grandmother. I'm a proud mother. And I think that's with men as well. My husband's a grandpa, and it was something that we wanted to see and to have, and it's such a joyous feeling. So it's not always a bad thing. It can also be a good thing. We raise our little children up, and when they're tiny little itty bitty tots, and they get older and older and wiser, we take them through school, we take them through college. They finally get that degree that they maybe worked 15, 16, 17 years for. They finally receive that diploma, and you can't but help not feel proud of them. Oh, you're a proud mother. Your child has his college degrees, your daughter's got her college degrees, and you're proud because they've worked so hard. And they got their degrees, and now they can go off and do the career field that they've always wanted to do. And that's where it's another good example of, you can be proud. You can still be proud of your son or your daughter or your friends or your neighbors when they've made great accomplishments. If somebody's been in a car accident, okay, well, that's not a good thing. But what if they weren't able to walk prior, but then they went through therapy? Maybe it's a year's worth of therapy. Maybe it's 2 years of therapy. And they're finally able to get back on their feet and walk without assistance. You can't but help not feel proud of them. And so this is like, you have to weigh it. You have to weigh that very word proud and pride, because pride, like I said, often in the scriptures, it's not always a good thing that when we read it. And I think when you have 2,000 years of time, that's, from the beginning of the scriptures to, to where we stand today, it's quite interesting how we can apply these things into our daily walk. So now I'm going to take us into a different book of the Bible, which is the book of Romans. And I'll take you into the 12th chapter, forgive me there. And it'll be the 3rd verse. And this is another one that I think it puts us in a position where we need to think a little. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. I love that one. I think it puts it right where we need it, and we need to remember that God's still the one that's in control of everything that takes place in our lives. We do have opportunities in this life that we live. Like I was saying, maybe you've finally got your home paid off. You've been working for years and years and years, and your home is finally paid off. That's a moment where you can be proud that, that debt is off from you. Like I talked earlier about graduation, you go so many years through college, and just not to mention the schooling prior. When you're a little toddler, and you go to preschool, to kindergarten, to grade school, high school, college, whether it's pre-med, whatever it might be, and then you finally got these degrees, and it's a huge success. It's a huge move for you. And yes, I think even the Lord would be pleased. When you work hard at something. Another thing, there's so many different careers out there. But my dad was a farmer, and it always felt good in the spring of the year to get out in the fields and to plant those crops. And then during the summer months, those crops would grow and grow and grow as the rain would come and nourish it. And then in the fall of the year, those crops would come in, and it was always a blessing to see your hard work, all that hard work, come into fruition, and now you're able to capitalize on it. Now your hard work is being paid off. So, we're talking about pride, and I will say most of us have an element, if not all of us have an element of pride. It can be good or it could be used for bad. And so when it gets into the scriptures, the Lord's trying to keep us on an even keel. He's speaking to us, he's telling us, live like this. Let somebody else speak and say, wow, look what Sarah did, or look what Kevin was able to do. Wow, they just were really successful in their careers. Let them speak those words about you instead of you bragging, well, I am now vice president of this corporation or president of this corporation, or I succeeded in this or that. Let others, lift you up. It'll make you feel so much better. Oh, it'll make you feel so wonderfully well. I can speak about my husband, who is a physicist, most of you have probably heard by now. And he worked for many, many, many years. The same place, he's still working there. He's very diligent about what he does. But he never boasts about it. He never brags about his position. He's one of the most humble people I've ever met in my life. He does not come home with work on his mind. Work stays at work. And so he doesn't boast about that. Even with all of his education, with all of his degrees, he doesn't boast about it. He doesn't brag about it. He doesn't brag about the vehicles. He doesn't brag about any of this. He keeps everything into perspective. And I think that's how the Lord wants us to be. He loves for you to have beautiful things. The Father, will bless you. When you work hard with your hands, He will bless you. And so I think today that's the message is, yes, pride can be good and it can also be evil. It can be bad. If you rub it into somebody else's face saying, well, see, I did this, it only took me half the time to get there, then that's when it's bad. But when somebody else is able to acknowledge what you've done, then that's when it's a beautiful thing. And, like I said earlier, pride cometh before a fall, but let somebody else give you that wonderful recognition that you have worked so hard to achieve and to have. Because the Lord, after all, wants to bless each and every one of you. As I said, if what you do starts to hurt others, if you've got so much pride that it starts to affect others in their walk, then that's when it's becoming very dangerous. And so I gave you some scripture verses today to think about, to ponder, to pray about. And also to recognize that, in today's world, when we've gone through, let's put it this way, 100 years ago, they didn't go to college for, 15 to 20 years to get all these degrees. They didn't go to school all that amount of time. Some people went to a 6th grade education, and that's all they attained. That's all they were able to have. There was the Great Depression. They had that on their plate to contend with. So, I just... this message today, I wanted to bring it out because I think we need to be grateful for whatever the Lord gives to you. But if you've been one of those blessed people that have great and have much, remember who you received it from. Remember, give the praise and give all the glory to the Father. He's the one that's provided everything for you. And remember those that aren't so lucky. Don't be afraid to give them as well. Help them. Help them. And I pray that this message has been a blessing for each and every one of you today. I pray that pride will not get in your way, but will only stir you up to greater and better and more wondrous things as the days come. I speak blessings upon each and every one of you today, and I hope it's a glorious day for each and every one of you. God bless you. Bye-bye.